Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're gonna take extreme action, you better have a real good reason. That makes sense, right? You know, it's kind of like I always say with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, talking like a modern, sassy, ghetto preacher doesn't instantly validate everything you're talking about. You know, for her, it's always been a bad look. Extremely righteous and preachy, while at the same time being completely wrong, or in some cases, just straight up overtly lying. You know, it's one thing to have this aggressive, annoying attitude. It's another thing to have this aggressive, annoying attitude and be totally wrong and dishonest. Not exactly a good mix. If you're gonna have that kind of attitude, you better pack a frickin' punch. Well, now let's take that concept and push it to the extreme. You've got all of these leftoids justifying political violence, essentially calling for violence, telling us it's a shame that the shooter missed. Of course, we're referring to the would-be assassin that took an attempt on Donald Trump's life. Well, if you're gonna say something so disgusting and so extreme, you better have a real good reason. You probably get exactly where I'm going with this. Of course they don't. They're frankly just evil. For evil's sake is what it feels like. And the justification for their evil rhetoric, well, it's possibly the dumbest thing that you will ever hear. Let's delve into the mind of your average leftist Karen getting completely radicalized by MSNBC's Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow. Let's have a conversation about left-wing extremism. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I present to you your average, totally radicalized, zero moral compass, frankly evil, leftist MSNBC watching Karen. Just take a look.
I would love it to happen to Donald Trump.
So you want Trump to get shot?
I do.
Why?
Get rid of him.
Why? Why would you want somebody like that to get killed? That's horrible.
Is it? You think?
Yes, it is. You should never wish for a president to get shot.
Why would you want those human beings that are walking up from Venezuela to be sent back to war and kidnapping, gun gang? Why would you want that? Why would you want any of those people, which he calls illegals? I'm coming here to rape you.
Come in legally.
Come in. You know how hard that is to do, and do you know why they've left?
Millions of people are doing it.
Women who are getting their period every 30 days are walking for 3 months with children. Think about that. Well, you don't get the period, but menstruating every 30 days as you're walking through the jungle. Take that home today.
Well, never call for the assassination of a president. That's pure evil.
You know, it's just wild to imagine that somebody who seems so harmless, a nice-looking old lady, how someone like that can hold such despicable, evil beliefs. This right here, folks, is radicalization. That's exactly what it is. This is your brain on MSNBC. This is what 24/7 MSNBC fear-mongering psychological bombardment gets you. These people feel justified in these kinds of beliefs. They believe that violence is justified because the threat that we are facing, that threat, of course, coming in the face of an evil orange man, well, it's not just a regular threat, it's an existential threat. You know, it's like I always say, if you actually believe that Donald Trump is Hitler, well then theoretically, nearly anything would be justified to get rid of him. And this is honestly what these people believe, except there's a little bit of a problem. You know, Hitler was an actual meth-abusing, psychotic, evil villain, and obviously Donald Trump's just a regular American who wants to make America great again. But of course they don't see it that way. They see Donald Trump as an evil man, as a man who's putting people in cages. I wonder where they got that idea from.
But I'm right there with you. I think that he is so vindictive that he will go after, however he has to, through the IRS maybe, or even, you know, through sponsors to get us off the air maybe, or you.
I'm worried about all of us. I'm no more worried about me than I am worried about everybody in the country. I think it's bad to have somebody saying, give me as much power as you can in this country so I can use it to go after other Americans. So I can use it to go after these subhuman internal enemies and I'll destroy them. There's a pattern where he picks out individual people and effectively terrorizes them.
They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus. At this stage, it isn't about economics. No.
If you want to, a year from now, watch Russian tanks rolling through Europe, then, endorse Donald Trump and get on that bandwagon. But,
you know, these leftoids have been watching Rachel Maddow for years. They saw her cry on television.
I think I'm going to have to hand this off. Sorry. that does it for us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow.
She was crying at the humanitarian horror of the Trump administration and their southern border policies. Well, let me correct myself here. The Barack Obama, Joe Biden era border policies, separating kids from their families, putting kids in cages. You know, you got emotionally unstable people who are watching this stuff. They buy it all, hook, line, and sinker. They just accept the narrative without any critical thought whatsoever, and then this is what you get. Extreme terroristic soccer mom Karen. It's unfrickin' believable. And it brings me right back to what I was saying in the intro. It's one thing to take an extreme stance, but to actually have a legitimate cause, you know, kind of like a utilitarian view per se, where the ends justify the means. It's another to have an extreme view, an extreme stance, but be completely off base with reality. I mean, did you listen to the reason? Well, we gotta protect all the Venezuelans. Donald Trump wants to send the Venezuelans back, and therefore that justifies political violence. A complete facepalm reaction from me. Honestly, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Not to mention the hypocrisy. We all remember back in 2022 when the Biden administration enacted new border policies that, quote, threw Venezuelan migrants into limbo. We all remember when the Biden administration back in October of 2022 announced that Venezuelans who crossed the southern border between ports of entry without authorization after October 12th would be immediately returned to Mexico. In other words, a Trump-era return to Mexico policy that was specifically targeted towards Venezuelans. That was an official Biden administration stance. You know, the hypocrisy is just unbelievable. Donald Trump, he put kids in cages. No, that was Barack Obama. Donald Trump, he's sending the Venezuelans back. No, that was literally Joe Biden. I remember covering this story like it was yesterday. The southern border totally open to everybody except for Cubans and Venezuelans. That was the official Biden administration response. You know, probably because Venezuelans and Cubans are fleeing communism and they tend to vote Republican when they land on shore, or rather when they're naturalized as a US citizen. And so from my perspective, the thought process was that the Biden administration doesn't want those kinds of illegal migrants, or rather asylum seekers. No, they wanted the other type, the type that vote for them, without hesitation or even a single thought. You know, these leftoids just simply don't get it. Their minds are being warped and manipulated. It's almost like a mass MK Ultra experience. You know, clearly these people, in a way, they're programmed, their brains are being warped, because obviously they have a total inability to think critically to be able to see the clear hypocrisy of their stances. It's such an incredibly bad look, and even beyond that, it's obvious that something dangerous here is festering. You have a group of people who clearly can be convinced of anything, and it's just such a ridiculous mix that we're seeing here. These calls to violence based on the worst possible reasoning ever. He wants to kick Venezuelans out. Do these people even pay attention to the news? Obviously not. Not real news, only fake news. Because if they were paying attention, they'd know that the Venezuelan government is essentially celebrating the fact that their local crime rates are going down because they're sending all of their criminals straight to the US border. Donald Trump mentioned that at his most recent rally.
They're dumping their criminals into the United States of America, and we're not going to take it anymore. Stupid people.
And guess what? He's right. And by the way, that's also a reason why the Biden administration is sending Venezuelans back. Because as we've seen, Venezuelan gangs are setting up across the nation. You know, that's the reality of what's going on, but apparently, if you have a problem with that and you want to send illegal Venezuelan criminal migrants back home, well then political violence is justified against you. Absolutely insane stuff. I'm gonna end this video by saying what I always say, just let them keep showing their true colors. This kind of nonsense isn't winning over anyone. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.